share.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Book Connections, a podcast where me and Elaine are going to talk to each other about the books that we read, a little bit about what else we're reading, what we are enjoying about what we're reading, and just kind of having a fun chat. We want it to feel a little bit like book club and hope that everybody who joins us gets to comment and kind of read along with us too. So I'm Kristen,
Hi, I'm Elaine.
and this is our first podcast. So bear with us as we
For
work
sure.
through getting just used to the new format and figuring out what we want to share and everything like that. We'll work out all the kinks as we go along, but we're happy to have you all for the first one. So welcome.
Yeah, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So Elaine, could you tell everybody just a little bit about you, who you are, and maybe what kind of books you typically enjoy reading?
Okay, so I work with animals, so I definitely love a good animal book or have some sort of animal companion book in the series or, something along those lines. And the books, oh, let me back it up. I have a eclectic taste of books, and it kind of stems from my mom. She is an
Mm,
avid book reader, and have has always read to us and suggested books to us as from a young age. And so, I read pretty much anything that suits my fancy, from fantasy, sci-fi. We were big Star Trek and fans and Star Wars, and just to self-help and mystic and metaphysical, and if it draws my attention, it's worth reading. And I have like an affinity for books, and at one point in our life our family actually owned a small bookstore. So
oh wow.
I definitely love books. I am more of a audio book reader at the moment because I just, always on the go. But
Yeah.
I still love physical books, but it doesn't always happen like that.
Yeah. Audiobooks make it so much more convenient to learn as you're on the go because I mean we're always driving or cleaning or doing anything that we need our
Yeah.
hands for. So I love audiobooks too.
Yeah, definitely on a long drive in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry if you hear my dog.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about those California drives and
Yeah.
because I listened to a podcast and he says that when he's going to audition, he practices characters because sometimes it takes like 4 to 6 hours for him to get somewhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, sometimes it's like a good hour for 10, 15 miles, so it's like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But, it's where I live. What can I do?
Yeah. Well, at least you got books to keep you entertained.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
I'm
what
Kristen. Oh,
oh, I was gonna say, what about you, Kristen?
I'm Kristen. I am an avid reader. I always have been. My grandma was a very avid reader. She loved to read a lot of fantasy books. So that's where I kind of got started was fantasy and just reading all the popular stuff in schools, like all the Dr. Seuss books and everything else. And um, at one point in my grade school years, I was a library aide. So I love to also be in the library, just helping to put stuff away and helping to check out books and everything. And I almost wanted to be a librarian, but decided that's not what I was going to school for. so, um, but I currently love to read fantasy. I love romance books, anything that is just generally exciting and keeps you entertained. I'm also a big fan of metaphysical books, just like Elaine, and I love to read self help books, nonfiction books. Right now, I'm reading a lot of culturally specific books. So things like an indigenous people's view of history of the US, and books about different tribes, books about just different cultural, like important events that have happened in history. I've been really into that lately too. So that's what I've been
No,
reading.
I love that.
hmm Yeah. I usually read on my phone just because it's so easy because you always have it on you. So just like
Hmm.
running around swiping page to page, it helps me get through books a lot faster. And for the ones that I enjoy especially well, I usually buy the ebook and the physical copy so that way I could keep it on my bookshelf because of that weird law. Like, you don't actually own the digital content, you just get like a
Hmm.
license to use it kind of thing. So, yeah, I've been trying to make sure I get at least some little bit of a physical library going here.
Yeah, that I would love to have a physical library. I just with limited room, sometimes it's like,
hmm
but
Yeah,
I still have a collection.
yeah. So the first books that we decided to talk about today are the Emily Wilde series. And it was a series that I picked up because I'd seen it suggested everywhere. I love any fairy book. If you mention fairies, it's probably already on my phone. So I love those. I was a sucker for this series. I loved it a lot. Really, really enjoyed it. So then I suggested it to Elaine and kind of gently forced her to read it.
No. Oh, I was down once I heard fairies and exploring, so I'm interested. I have not read, well, I read the book now, but at the time I had not read it, and we basically, like I love that also we connected with books because
Mhm.
we met each other, what, like a year or two ago, or not, I don't even remember, but it's just been a
Yeah.
click, and definitely books have been part of it. But yeah, Kristen suggested the book and I was all down and we were going to do the podcast, so it was interesting. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I know Kristen was a little worried that I wouldn't like it, but I'm
Right.
totally into uh fantasy uh and fairies and any sort of magic. I'm down. So this I definitely had all of those and a little love story. So I definitely into that and feel good vibes.
Yeah, yeah, I loved that the most because I'm finding a lot of times with these books that are like 700 pages long, it's such an emotional investment that I get really
Hmm.
burnt out after I read it. But with
Yeah.
these, I didn't feel that way because they're so just cozy. And the
Hmm.
romance wasn't like in your face, super heavy and emotionally, and like needing you to get invested. It was just a gentle, like, here's this little bit. Oh, here's another little bit more and a little bit more. And
Yeah.
yeah, I really liked that part too.
Yeah. I definitely character development and them being together, it just kind of flowed easy. And I did like the storytelling aspect of it because it is kind of like a academic telling of the
hmm
story as well, and their personalities together were very um it's like weird, it's kind of like mismatched but perfectly matched too at the same
Right.
time because they're opposites. So and it's very cute, very cute.
Yeah,
And
totally.
cozy. I totally agree with the word cozy for the story because
hmm
it's like a fun read. It doesn't take a lot of like emotional investment, but
Yeah.
it's like one that for me I was listening to and like chuckling and laughing along with the
Yeah.
storytelling. So and for the audiobooks, if you're going to read the audiobooks, I think the voice actor was great. Like the
Okay.
voices were good and they weren't like I know some people say like the voices are annoying or like when they do certain
Right.
characters, but she was on point when she narrated the story. So I
Okay, good.
found it really suiting.
Yeah, I'll probably see if I can get the audiobook version of it then, because I like if it's a good audio, I love to listen to it or have it just as like background noise when I'm doing something. So I think I would like
Yeah,
that a lot. Mhm.
yeah.
So I'm going to show the characters. I loved this series so much that I uh, ran online and searched for the closest depiction of Emily and Wendell that I could find, which were the two main characters. And just like we're going to be talking all about this book series. So if you haven't read it yet, and if you can't stand spoilers, probably like pause this now and come back at a later time. But so here's the characters. And
Yeah.
I just love that, like everything, like you said, their personalities. This book made me laugh physically out loud, and it's really hard for a
Hmm.
book to get me to do that. So if a book can get me to actually laugh, golden. I will buy every kind of platform of it that I can.
Yeah, no, for sure, because it's really cute and it's a feel good, cozy read, and it just and I actually like that picture because that is kind of like she's described as bookish, and
Yep.
and he is suave and
Very prim and
handsome and tall.
proper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just funny. So I
Mm.
really I like that. And it did kind of have like that manga anime vibe of like I don't know how to, does that make sense if
It
when
does
I'm
to me,
saying
yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
sure other
because it just
people will make sense of it
it's
too, yeah.
just like when you're listening and or for me when I was listening and picturing it, I just totally like that was the vibe of like
Yeah.
so it was fun, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like if they ever had to make this into an animated series, I think I would really love it. I would be down for that. I think I would have a hard time with like a fully like real human made series. I think I might struggle with that, but if they did animated, yeah, that
Yeah.
would be cool. Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah. So I want to ask I guess we'll start with kind of the first one. Um the first
Which
one
is
is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. And these are by Heather Fawcett. It's Fawcett. But here's what the first one looks like in case anybody needs to see it. So, Elaine, since you just read it, I kind of want to pick your brain because, like Elaine said, I've been dying to know. I get so nervous suggesting books to people because I'm like, if they hate it, they will never trust my suggestions again. So,
no, I definitely didn't feel that way, but
mhm.
so so what do you
So
want to know?
what did you like most about that one? That was the one with Poe. I guess maybe I should share a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Let me see if I could read like the back of it. So it says, oh, sorry about all the noise. Emily Wilde is a genius scholar of fairy folklore who just wrote the world's first comprehensive encyclopedia of fairies. She's learned many of the secrets of the hidden ones on her adventures, and also from her fellow scholar and former rival Wendell Bamblebee. Because Bamblebee is more than infuriatingly charming, he's an exiled fairy king on the run from his murderous mother and in search of a door back to his realm. And despite Emily's feelings for Bamblebee, she's not ready to accept his proposal of marriage. Loving one of the fair folk comes with secrets and dangers. And so I'll cut it short, but this is the one that has like Poe in it and then that like Winter King guy and everything else. So how did you feel about it? What kind of like what did you like the most? What really drew you in?
Okay. So definitely the fact that it was because I was trying to decide if it was alternate universe, parallel universe, something like along those lines, uh different timeline, but it definitely seemed like what 1930s. I don't think they definitely
Yeah.
give a date. So
Oh
that
wait,
was
I
does
think she
she?
has years. It's written in the style of a journal.
Okay.
as Emily's journal, and I'm pretty sure there are some entries that have years. Maybe not. Maybe she
I
just leaves it at
I
like,
thought it was just dates, like November, because I remember thinking that
yeah,
the months were interesting. Because
yeah.
I definitely think that is a difference between the audio and a physical copy or even
Mm-hmm.
a digital copy because it was I remember the dates, but I don't remember the years, but it definitely felt something like they're using steamboats and
Yeah,
trains and versus planes.
yeah,
So that was intriguing to me.
yeah. It says
And then
1910 is the first
okay, so
first year, so
okay,
you're right on. Yeah,
okay.
1930s ish. Mm-hmm.
And it just so that was the building of the world, because that's always what gets me into books too, is that
Yeah,
the world building along with the character development. And so you kind of, because it's a journal, the world is not built, it like slowly comes into pieces as she explains and explores. And so that's pretty cool to me too.
yeah,
Um, and then the fact that you meet her and she's very scholarly and it is written formatted in that journal and you kind of like um she's she's funny. She
yeah,
like she's straightforward, which I appreciate, and but at the same time I definitely think she doesn't see herself in the way that definitely Wendell does. Um and I also like that she is independent and strong at that time.
hmm,
And um I definitely at some point she meets it was the couple and they were in a same sex marriage. So
yeah,
I did enjoy that was like it was
yeah,
inclusive versus exclusive. And just I felt like also I'm not going to give away spoilers at this moment, but like the story came together and it came together in a magical way. And like the fact that it was fairy and she would just explain things as it was going and not it kept that premise and that character together. It's like the characters didn't do anything out of line or like out of
yeah,
character, I guess. And just that it was I don't know, the part with their finger too was I was
yeah.
just like, wow.
Shit, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so and that she does get herself into trouble,
Yep.
because she's so headstrong and independent at the same time that it just it's all, it's very lovable and Wendell trying to do and him sewing too is actually the cutest thing for
Yes.
me.
Me
So
too.
yeah,
That's so
so
good.
there I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but there was a lot of pieces. And Poe definitely was cute because he also plays a big like
Hmm.
he's like a setup for the next book too.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved him. I loved him a lot. And I loved, like you said, just like nobody acted out of character, which for me is huge because if I'm reading this main character and they keep making these out of character or like really immature, frustrating decisions, I have a hard time reading the book. So I did like that a lot. I felt like that she did the characters really well in this one, in this series at least. And then yeah, I just loved like all the quirks of everybody that
Mm-hmm.
they interacted with and the main characters. Like Poe, one of the little fairies, he likes to bake things and bakes bread for them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cute. Um, Obviously, Wendell does a lot of sewing, but then he also is good, really good at swordsmanship. And so to see like that come into play and how he just kind of like zones out and just does his thing to get through it, and then like he's back and all the times he would get frustrated with her, and I would just really laugh because the decisions that she would make are things that I would do too, because 'cause I'm so headstrong, and I'm like, "It'll be fine, we'll figure it out," and I
Yeah,
vibed with that so much, yeah, I
yeah,
loved it. Mhm.
yeah. And since my dog is not settling and I'm holding him right now, but Shadow was important and very cute in the book too, and
Yeah,
Shadow is of course in the second book as well.
yeah,
And so Shadow is her faithful canine companion that is also a fairy dog. I think they call him a Grim, which I thought
I
was
think
really
so.
cool.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Mhm. And it's cool that he can, like, change size, and he
Mm-hmm.
knows when to protect her and, like, when to
Mm-hmm.
be just chillax and stuff, so that was really cool. And as, like so Elaine and I are spiritualists in real life, like, we are
Mm-hmm.
into spirituality and, like, different beings and stuff. So, as somebody who reads a lot of fairy folklore, it was really interesting to see where she would take pieces from folklore and do something similar, but also made up some stuff to fill in the gaps. So it was its own unique thing while still kind of being a little bit accurate to the folk and how they behave. So I did really enjoy that too.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of like the magic of the story too,
Mhm.
where it wasn't it never felt forced. It all felt natural, and even like at points where there's points where she still journals, or actually now right now as I'm thinking about it, it's where she kind of where Wendell makes his entry in the journal for her, and
Yeah.
so that
She
was
gets
funny.
so mad.
She does get mad, and these
So
are
funny.
like she's very serious about them too, but also putting personal stuff, and it's like, why am I doing this? It's very cute,
Yep.
because it is, you know, it's like she is connected to the fairy spiritual, and also, that human drama and human like life that is in one, and so she's just like going back and forth between it, and it's very balanced and very cute, so and cozy, and there is she does definitely get herself into a lot of trouble with this one.
Yep, yeah, yeah, and this one, not to give away, like, too many spoilers, but she's so headstrong and so, just, like I really think she's neurodivergent. I don't know if Heather ever actually wrote her purposefully that way,
Hmm.
but so much of her behavior is exactly like people with ADHD and autism, and, so
Well,
I felt really, like, really seen reading her story,
yeah.
but
And she says it too. She's like, I cannot do this part. I cannot like engage with people, or like
Mhm.
when she would say stuff, she was like, I see that I could possibly offend somebody, but I don't know how or what to do
Yep.
about it. Like, I should be like, Bramblebee could do it better, or
Yeah,
Wendell could
because he's
do
charming, yeah.
it. Yeah. So it's very cute. So yes, I agree with that.
Mhm, yeah, and I love the Wendell, the main character, he like, as soon as he goes into a place, he's like, "This place is a mess," and then he just starts cleaning and just, like,
Yeah.
rage cleans, and then he
Yeah.
starts, like, throughout the story, making the place much more cozy, and, like, he'll buy rugs for the place, or I think he just gets given rugs, I don't think he even buys them actually, but,
Yeah,
like,
I
he
think
starts
he uses
finding
his
these different
charm.
things. Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that mirror in the first one, there's, like, a special mirror that he puts in this cottage cabin thing that they're staying in, and, like, everybody, as soon as they step into the place that he's touched and really kind of changed, they're always amazed. They're like, "Something feels different about this."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's kind of like energy work too, where you put the energy in, and it just you can feel the vibe of different areas because of the energy put in there. So for
Yeah.
sure. And I did think it's funny because he gets outed in different ways in this book.
Yes, he does.
Because like they explain his cleaning habits and his sewing, and I think Emily is definitely like, and he's like, well, you have to know.
Yeah.
So it's very cute. And then also so this is a little bit of a spoiler. He does fix her coat when she goes to the fairy realm.
Yeah.
And so but his sewing basically also kind of saves her at the same time. So,
Hmm.
and I think that comes up a lot in the second book of things that he
Yep.
magicked on her persons that she is upset
Yeah.
about, but saves
Yeah.
her at the same time.
Yeah. So like moving on to the second book, because that's like the perfect thing. He like magics her pencils
Yeah,
to
I
so
think
that way
that's
they like
cute and
turn into
funny.
swords or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that made me laugh so much. I was like, he would just he's like, ah, it'll be all right. She can get mad about it. She'll work it out.
Yeah. What I know there was the part, now I forgot what fairies were after them, or was it the hunt? And they were just breaking the orbs to try to escape. And it was like, stop breaking them because it's
Yeah.
not doing anything.
Yeah.
It was just causing more chaos. And so that was funny. Like, it's just like, I totally see myself doing something silly like
Yeah.
that. Like, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to start breaking shit. So,
Me too. Yeah, that's why I loved it so much. I was like, man, this speaks to me on such a personal level. It's so cute. If you haven't read it before, you absolutely have to because it was good. And the thing that surprised me too was like with this series, um, sometimes you get into the first book from an author and it's so good, and then you go to read the second and it falls really flat. I felt
mhm.
like the second book in this series was even better than the first.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
do, no, I agree with you on that. And I also think that it was kind of like you couldn't guess what was going to happen. Because there's
Yeah,
some books that you kind of see the setup and it starts unraveling.
yeah,
And how it's done, it is done in like a magical way where it's kind of, I don't know if you've read any Patricia Briggs books,
no,
but she has a vampire in the series, and they were like, for vampires, you have to think upside down and sideways and backwards sometimes. And so it's kind of like the same way for fairies. It's like,
yeah,
the, it is not the obvious answer. And she's
mhm,
able to put it together in a very masterful, magical way.
yeah,
And it also makes me think of the strings and just like also just parallel lives, parallel universes, and just
mhm,
like how things are connected energy wise.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that, especially because like with when it comes to the fair folk in real life and all the
Hmm.
folk tales that we have about them and the stories and everything about our interactions with them, the words that we use are so important. And that's a
Hmm.
huge thing, even in these books, too. So you're exactly right. It's like she has to think about old stories that she's read, or like she has to really pay attention to the way somebody worded something. And in
Hmm.
fact, actually, she worded something that helped get her out of a situation that I took for my own practice. I was like, I love the way this person thinks. So thank you, Heather Fawcett, for helping me out there. Um, but the second one is called Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia. No, wait, I did that backwards. The first book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. That was the one that we just talked about. So I accidentally read this one first. This is the Emily Wilde's map of the Otherlands. This is the second one. And so in this one, even this one kept catching me by surprise too. Like just the um different parts of the plot, but like how some of those specific characters that they rescued behaved at the end really
Hmm.
like took me aback. Um, So I thought that that was really well done too in this one.
Yeah, because she has because basically in this book she published the first journal that we meet her in,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
then she kind of has a antagonist that ends up joining their expedition forcefully. You know,
Yep.
she doesn't want him. And then they basically kind of pick up two colleagues along the way, and then she does make the mistake with Shadow, which I did find really sad.
Yeah.
But it does work out, and you know things uh get fixed. And yeah, this was the I would say that there was a little bit more of an emotional investment in the second book because
Yeah.
you definitely are like, you know her, you are rooting for them, you
Yeah.
know, and you just see things going up and down and like, how are you going to get yourself out of this one now? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because in the first one, Wendell proposes to her, and then in this one, the second one, she finally accepts, like, towards the end of the book. Um, but that's part of, like, a really big part of the plot and why she has to do that, and it has to do with the wording and the stuff, and it brings her back to something that he said that really helps save him. Um, and so, like, that's what I really love about this is, like, she sets things up so early in
Hmm.
advance. It's like she really took some time to plan these 2 out. So I'm excited for the next one too to see
Yeah.
what it's
I
like.
really love when authors do that, when they can, where it's kind of like they set stuff up in the first or several books ahead, and then you just slowly start seeing which reminds me of the professor with the strings.
Mm,
It's just
mhm.
like you just start seeing that web being woven
Yeah.
as it's coming along, and it's pretty cool. That I think it's cool when authors do that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree. And even the character, like the professor that gets forced to come along in this one, even like, he didn't really annoy me. He started to a little bit at first, but I found that I really liked him because he did make
Hmm.
quite a lot of sense in several situations, and he did actually help several times too, so he was a
Yeah.
good character. Mhm,
Yeah, which is a good character development too, where it's
mhm.
like, you know, there's always those characters that are annoying at first and then they come
Yeah,
around or something happens and you're like, oh, that's not quite the first idea I had, or I didn't expect this. So you know, it's very tasteful writing, you know, that she's able
yeah,
to do.
mhm. What did you think of her niece in this one?
Oh, I thought she was cute, and she definitely is kind of a small Emily or a
Yeah,
little replica, or but not quite, because I think she has the charm that Emily is always worried about, but Emily is charming in her own way.
yeah,
And I definitely think it is cute that she finally, like, I don't want to say they have that connection, and then it's also like I feel like they weren't connected, even though they are
yeah,
niece and aunt or family. And I think this brings them together. And then the fact that basically the niece is like, "Oh, aunt, you give me courage, and you allow me to be like, this is what I want to do, and I can now like stand up to my dad and say it," you know, versus I
yeah,
am just so I just find that empowering too, especially with their timeline or whatnot. Because I think also in the beginning, Emily was getting a little, I think there was a little pushback just with, or did, tell me if I'm wrong on this vibe, but
huh?
that basically because Wendell was a man, he was getting more of an advancement versus with the encyclopedia versus she was. So like some sort of they were holding her back because she was a woman, you know.
Mhm,
So I did find that interesting, and even Wendell saying like, "Oh, well, I'll write the forward or something on your book," giving her that
Yeah.
step into but she actually achieved tenure
Uh-huh.
on the second book, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's threatened because they figure out that Wendell, they say that he fabricated some stuff. And
Which is probably true, but
yeah, like there are some things that I think he created situations to be able to tell about it, but like part of it is his actual knowledge about certain
Uh-huh.
beings and like the fairies.
Yeah.
And even though it couldn't
Mhm.
really be proven by other scholars, it kind of
Yeah.
got him into trouble a little bit. But that was cool to see that, like, um, that the academics of it was taken so seriously, and it wasn't just like, oh yeah, this main character is a scholar and a professor and like that's it.
Mhm.
Like there is the actual, like, the visiting of the libraries and doing research and
Mhm.
recalling things and sending out their little students and teaching their students, and like it does talk about that regularly throughout the book too,
Yeah.
which was nice because it made me feel really connected to both of the characters even more, but especially to Emily, just for being like a woman who works in a
Yeah.
career like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then is also kind of like trying to achieve and not be held back at the same time. So,
Yep.
which is basically all of us. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. I know. Yeah, I really loved it. In the first one, I loved the main like problem that kind of happened at the end with like that weird Winter King fella.
Mhm.
Um and I'm so nervous that he's like something's going to come back to bite them in
And
the
the
butt
in book
regarding
3,
him.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm like I'm like shaking over here. I don't want him to come back. Um but yeah, in the second one, I thought it was really cool. Like Wendell's backstory of his mother having driven him away and Emily not
Mhm.
finding that out till significantly through the first book, um, was really neat because it showed that even in fairy, there's such a discord even between their own people. So that was pretty cool to see because that does line up too with like our own folk tales and stuff. And it really feels like that got placed so early on because it's a huge theme in the third one of like finally working all of that out. So I'm excited for the next one to see how it goes.
Yeah, I am excited about the next one because I'm kind of like they have a lot going on. They're trying to get
Yeah.
married. They are trying to get Wendell's kingdom back, and there
Hiding from his
is
stepmom.
yeah, and then she still technically is married. So like
uh
there's a kind of a lot going on there, and I don't believe stepmom is out of the picture completely. So,
I know. That's the one thing I worry about is like maybe her teaming up with that other king
hmm
to exact revenge on Wendell and Emily. So I'm like,
yeah,
oh God, what's gonna happen? I'm shaking. I'm ready, like ready to read
yeah.
it, not ready for it to end. Also not ready to read what's gonna happen to them, but like
Yeah.
ready to read the happy ending because it has to have a happy ending or else I'm gonna riot. But
I think that will be a happy ending. I just think we'll have to go. I think maybe the emotional investment was like a slow buildup
yeah.
of like the first one was like the cozy feels, and then the
Yeah.
second one where like the oh yeah, I'm really enjoying this and I'm invested, and then the next one will be the ringer, you
Yeah.
know.
That one's gonna give us a book hangover for a little bit. Yeah. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
but and it did. I just like the style of the writing too, like that
Yeah.
academic and that it kept to that, and that's basically her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it is written in that journal format.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I really loved the language and just the wording that she chose and the pace and like how she would say things. I felt like that was really really good. It was easy to
Yeah.
read. Um, and sometimes you get those books where people include like really big vocabulary for just no reason. This wasn't really like that either, which I
Hmm.
appreciated. Like, yes, she's a scholar, but she didn't feel the need to just throw in like these crazy like words that people have never heard of before. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
liked that too.
Yeah. Um, because the words that kept coming to mind was like florally, but it's also like she speaks kind of modernly, but also of that period too at the same
Mm,
time. And then even her academic words were not like super foreign, or it was just like, I don't know, it was easy to comprehend and keep all everything in order, versus because sometimes you get those books where it's like, I'm like, I am thinking way too hard trying to keep these timelines and
yes,
these
yeah.
people in order. And there are quite a bit of characters and there are things happening. So, but it's easy to keep in order and
Yeah.
have it develop too at the same time.
Yeah, because like you said earlier, I really appreciated that. Like, she didn't just dump in the first 200 pages of like, here's this entire world and like it's world building.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like that. It was very much like, oh, here are these new kinds of beings. This is where they come from. This is what they do. And you actually get like a little explanation there with everything that happens. So I did really like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, I was trying to think of something. I was like, what do you think? Do you think there will be a time jump in this third book, or do you think we'll just come right off of the second book?
Well, I know in the second book they were getting ready to go through the door. So they were like right there at that beach door that they were getting ready to
Uh-huh.
go into his world. So I do think, and it comes out in a few days, like I'll have it in a few days and be able to read it. I'm so excited. But um I do think that they will probably pick up probably within like a couple days or two.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she'll be like, yeah, we went through the door and like we made it to this place and settled down and this is where we're at kind of thing. So I,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it'll be kind of like that. Um, but I bet you at the end, I wonder if there's some kind of like, here's the ending, and then here's like them so many years in advance, and life is going
Mm-hmm.
great and it's
Mm-hmm.
perfect and wonderful, like just another like a little epilogue kind of thing.
Yeah,
What do
that
you
would be cool.
think?
Because I was thinking, because since they're entering fairy,
Mm,
every time she went, I mean, she wasn't, I mean, because she's human and fairy, she did get disoriented a little bit,
yeah.
but since he's there, she shouldn't, right? That's my understanding.
Right, yeah, because if
Or does she
she
have to be
I think
married
she
to
has
him
to
yet?
marry him. Yeah.
So,
So they're gonna
so,
have to get married
so
pretty
it's going
pretty
to be
quick.
interesting because I'm just trying to put it all together and like, because I think it will make it less, but then she definitely has some sort of ability to not get so lost in fairy when she's there by
Yeah.
herself.
But that was with the
Uh,
help of his cloak, and she does like all the tricks and stuff.
oh yeah, I
Mhm.
forgot about that because then I started to remember her niece's scarf. So
Yep. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So we'll see
Mhm.
what happens. I am curious. I will be getting the third book, so I guess our next episode will be on our partly on our next book and partly on this book or the third book to finish this up and see. But I'm excited about it. I do, like I said, cozy reading is definitely the category that I would have it fall under because it's just a feel good,
Yeah.
you move through it, you can laugh and not be so weighed down by it.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't ever heavy. Like even in the second one, like that part about Shadow, like you said, that part was a little sad, but to me otherwise it wasn't really like I didn't have
Hmm.
any super heavy moments, so I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that like you would have liked to see more of or something that you felt like it could have should have been a little bit different?
You know, um when I first initially started to read, I did kind of like question the world building, but I think it was because I wasn't so far into the book.
Mhm.
And then after the fact, I started to actually appreciate how the world building occurred and even the character development and character introductions.
Mhm.
It helped with that. And so I don't really feel like there's anything lacking um off the top of my head because I just literally the words that keep coming to me is feel good and cozy. And
Yeah.
I felt good about listening to the book and I felt like it was complete. I never went back and thought like, well, what happened there? Why did this happen? Or it was all pretty tidy and streamlined as to what was occurring. So it just
Yeah.
but that would be the initial thing that I had thought about was just like, where am I? What timeline is it? And then I was like,
Mhm.
calm down, Elaine. Don't get so caught up in that. Just enjoy the book. And then after that, it was kind of like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
got it.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Was,
Especially
was
with
there?
there not being any years too. Well, and I guess that makes sense because like it wasn't over a period of years. Like it was over a period of months when she was there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Um for me, I think I'm just so used to reading smut because that's what is in a lot of books. So it's like
Yeah, under the romance category. Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of, like, expected there to be more, which I wasn't upset, like, I don't mind closed door romances, and so
uh-huh.
these are closed door, and I don't mind them. But now, like, that part of me is like, "But I'm so invested in Wendell and Emily that now I'm like, please let the 3rd book have something.' If it doesn't, I'm still not gonna be upset, but if I had to choose anything, I maybe would have thrown, like, a couple of, like, more spicy scenes in there, but that would be it.
Yeah. I think that also comes with Emily's personality.
It does, yeah. Mhm.
Like, I don't think Wendell would, mind that,
Yeah,
but
because it's in her yeah, you're right, like,
yeah, and
she's doing the journal.
she's always like, "I need to keep these professional." So
Yeah, yeah,
so maybe
that's
we
true.
need to get her own personal journal.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that makes sense.
Suggestion there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because 'cause you're right, she's like this whole thing is her journal, and, like, you're reading from her journal, and she would definitely be too shy, I think, to write about it even in her own journal, because then she would have to, like, relive it, and that would be too not humiliating for her, but, like, just too much.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
because we do hear about her previous partner. I can't
Yeah.
remember if that was book 2, right? Yeah, I think that was in the second book. And but even then she basically says like it wasn't really a relationship or like it was, but it was kind of cold. And
Mhm.
so I think there is a setup for that. So maybe in the third book we will see some action, but like or hear about it, read about it, whichever way. But
Yeah.
it she just was kind of comparing the relationship with him
Yeah.
and Wendell and how it was different.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um
that's true.
so so we'll see. But
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely think there's mostly like her trying to stay in that I'm an academic, I have to make this
Yeah.
professional. So
Yeah, I know I was surprised, like, the tent scene. So, like, in the 2nd book, there's a scene where they have to use her cloak as a tent, um, and so there was, like, an insinuation of things
Mhm.
that happened because again, a closed door, but, um, I was surprised that she didn't go, like, running for the hills. She,
Mhm.
like, genuinely wanted to stay there and cuddle with him, and I was like, Are we seeing Emily open up a little bit? Oh my god.
Yeah, because in the first book, she's definitely not having any of his, and thinking that they're all like false pretenses or something of
Mhm.
even I took my dogs for a walk this morning and I started listening to the first book again, and it just there was a scene where he sent her a picture, and she was like, and he had the audacity to make me cute in the picture. So it's just funny.
Yeah, that's so funny. God, and I love when he fills out her journal entries for her, and
Mhm,
he's just like he's being so admiring of her, and he's like, "You
mhm,
were just so lovely," or like, "I loved how you did this. Don't worry, I took care of you," kind of thing. And he's just like all lovey gushy, and then when you get her next entry after that, she's like so upset. She's
mhm.
like, "Don't ruin my journal with such nonsense." So
Yeah.
it's just such a cute dynamic. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because that's what, like, yeah, opposites are mismatched. I don't know which way to put it. But
Yeah,
yeah, they definitely fit together, even though they're opposites. So it's just cute
yeah,
that it is like their whole relationship is very cute too, because it's definitely apparent that from the beginning he is enamored with her in some
yep,
way, and she's like, no, sir.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
uh,
He's obsessed, and she just can't recognize social cues, and like
yeah.
thinks that it's just all ploy, because it doesn't help that I'm pretty sure it was in the first book, like as soon as he went to that town that she was at doing the research, he started sleeping with a lot of the women there or something.
Hmm.
And so I'm
I
like, that doesn't
definitely
help.
one woman, and then I think the woman, he leaves the woman there at the place that they're staying at,
Uh-huh.
and I definitely think the woman
Oh
um
yeah.
thinks that she's making Emily mad, which is funny because Emily's like, and she thinks she's making me mad, but she's not, but it
Yeah.
like is.
But she does, yeah.
So
That's so true. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know how often that happened, but yeah, she definitely talks about his escapades, but it's also like,
You could tell
you
she's
guys aren't,
jealous. Mhm.
yeah, or she's jealous, but not even registering it too
Yeah.
at the same time. It's like
Uh-huh.
she's just,
She's in denial.
yeah,
She's
she's
got it bad.
observing it and getting huffy about it, but not really processing the emotion behind it. So,
Yep. Yeah. She's
which
got it for him
happens.
bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause he's the only guy, like, she says multiple times that she actually considers a friend and somebody
Mm-hmm.
who's, like, she is close to him, and he knows her so well. He knows her so, so well. Like, he forces her to come to breakfast because she won't eat breakfast on her own
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just cute.
I
Mhm.
do think that's funny that he will take care of her when she won't take care of herself type thing, where it's
Uh-huh.
like, and that's kind of like their mismatchiness where maybe his brownie heritage comes into
Yeah.
play because it's more like she's the fairy and he's the human.
Yeah. That's so funny. I know. I love his little, like, he has to clean everything and sew everything and
Hmm.
mend everything and cook everything, and yeah, and that part just takes over most of his
Hmm.
personality, which is good because, like, where he came from, that's the only thing saving him from being awful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Is it a spoiler that I say that his mom is human, right? So that, or not his stepmother.
Yeah, I think she is human. Told No, I think, is she half human? Because Emily
Oh,
poisons her
yes.
with that one stuff. Yeah, I think she's half because she
Yeah,
poisons her with that one stuff that she poisoned him with.
yeah. Because that's basically they're saying that fairy needs humans, just
Yeah,
like, and vice versa type thing.
yeah.
So
Which,
yeah.
yeah, it makes total sense. And that's something that even like the actual fair folk community of like here real life kind of says too is like we do actually really kind of need each other to help keep the balance for just earth and
Hmm.
nature in general. So it was really cool to see that even show up in like that series.
Yeah.
And in fact, Heather writes a newsletter that I follow, and she just shares like random stuff and usually about this series. And she just sent one out not too long ago where she shared a bunch of the books that inspired so many different things. And Wendell, a lot of his inspiration did come from certain fairy characters in our folklore.
Oh well, I'll have to check that out. I
Mhm.
I wasn't part of the newsletter, but maybe I will be now. So
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah,
yeah,
so that way you'll
that's
have it.
cool.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, definitely excited for the next book, and we'll have to record our next episode on that. And what else are we? Oh, you know what? I don't think we ever talked about it's been like an hour already.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't putting a timer, but we didn't talk about what we were reading, or at least I didn't. I don't think so.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you wanna talk about like so what are you reading now? At the moment?
So, I feel like I always have like 3 or 4 books going.
Me too.
I do have the part of the Discovery of Witches. I just
Mm,
finished that series. And I am reading the Time Covenant of that series.
mhm.
That's kind of like a spin-off. And then I have a chakra book that I'm reading, and um there is a third book that I'm reading too. So but I that one I'm not sure I like, so I keep like coming back and forth to
Right.
it.
Yeah. Let me open up my Kindle so I can share what I'm currently reading. For anybody that watches our podcast, this is what the third book is gonna look like. It's gonna be Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. If you get the copies on Amazon, they're different design than the copies you get from Barnes and Noble
Oh, really?
versus versus the copies that you get from I think overseas has a different version too. And
Usually that happens.
yeah, which I love the designs of those ones so much more than these. I think these are absolutely beautiful covers. I really love them. And they have like little Easter eggs that tie into the story, like the compass, the little Vulpine fox thing that like
Mm,
she ended up having to team up with. And then like the branches from that one king and like just several other things. So it is really cool. Um, but I'm currently reading a spiritual book. Right now I'm reading Living Fairy by Morgan Daimler, and it's about the fairy witchcraft and star worship and how that works together. But I'm also our next episode here is going to be about the Discovery of Witches series. So I'm going to finish the second one and read the third one. So I'm on Shadow of Night right now. And then I just downloaded a book called Assistant to the Villain that I'm going to be reading. And I'm also reading A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. And that one's not for the faint of heart. That one's for people who like monster smut.
okay, because I was about to say, is that like a horror movie, a thriller of some sort or psychological thing? Because it started to remind me of like the House on Haunted Hill or something
Right?
like that. I was like,
It's an interesting book so far, but it is just like scene after scene after scene after scene. It's just like monster erotica. So if you're a fan of that, maybe check it out. But that's
hey.
what I'm reading right now. Um, and yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to catch up on the third one so we can talk about it.
Yeah, because I think the Time Covenant book, that one's like a spin-off of the original trilogy of
Yeah.
from Deborah Harkins. Um, and so that one is a separate book, but then they do have now I'm like, can I count? The fifth book, Blackbird Oracle, which goes
Mm,
back
mhm.
to, so that one goes, I think jump 7 years. And
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
one will be interesting. So we
Mhm.
got a lot to talk about for that one.
I know. I'll for sure have these two finished, and then hopefully the next one too, the fourth one, and then we'll see if I can get my hands on the fifth one. I usually check things out through the library if I can, and
Mm-hmm.
then see if I like it. And if I like it, then I'll keep it, or I'll do like Kindle Unlimited because I just can't afford to buy all these books and not like it because
Yeah,
I DNF quite a lot of books. Um, but yeah, I'm excited. And I love
yeah.
this series, the Discovery of Witches series. And ever since I watched it, I first watched it, the show,
Mm-hmm.
and then I stopped the show because I was like, I like this so much that I want to read it. So then I started reading the books, and I haven't finished the show yet. So I'm like, I gotta finish this so I can finally finish the show.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
cool because it's like since I've seen the show, I picture the guy that plays him, Matthew.
Uh-huh.
I picture
Matthew.
him for Matthew,
Yeah,
yeah. So, and
yeah.
Diana, the girl that plays Diana too. Mhm.
Yeah, no, yeah, well, we shouldn't get too much into it, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it too, because otherwise we'll be here for another hour.
Yeah.
But but no, yeah, I love that book, and it is another book that her writing is so elegant and so
Mhm.
um dreamy is the word that I want to come up with, but that's not quite it. It's like not quite whimsical, but it is like just elegant and very otherworldly and spiritual at the same time.
Mhm.
They are witches, and also that Diana is Diana. So well, I won't get too much into it. But yeah,
Yeah,
I originally read the series when it first came out years
you
ago.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big nerd, so
It's okay. Me too. That's why we're
come
here
on.
recording a book podcast. That's so funny. So just to recap before we sign off, the first book of the Emily Wilde's series is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And that one, just in a nutshell, is she's trying to put together an encyclopedia of fairies that she can publish. It's going to help her get tenure at the university she works for, but it's also just a passion project. It's her special interest, and it would help a lot of the other scholars who do fairy work. So she goes to a specific, very icy place to research a specific kind of folk for the book, and it's the last one that she needs to be able to publish. And eventually, Wendell shows up with his two little students. Eventually, the two little students run off because they don't want nothing to do with those two.
Yeah,
And then it's just them like navigating, trying to help the people of the town because they're actually suffering the effects of some of these other fairies. And
yeah,
so they uncover just everything that's happening, and they really help to free this town of people. And the second book is the Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. And that one is it's after they've like he's proposed to her, after they've like figured out, or she's figured out, that he needs help getting back to his land to reclaim his throne because he's like, I lived here for 10 years in the human world, I'm ready to get back over there. So they're trying to figure that out, so they go to a place where um a previous scholar who was really highly discredited amongst a lot of people, but like Emily just has a knack for knowing the right things and knew that she was right. She knows where a special portal is that would be able to get them back to that land. So that's kind of the whole story of the second one, is just them
yeah,
trying to find this lady who disappeared, and they're trying to get that doorway activated so they can go to his world and figure out what they can
yeah,
do.
and also save Wendell because he got himself
Yeah.
into trouble. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. Save Wendell because he he's in pretty big trouble, and she meets his stepmom in that one. And
Yeah.
so the third one is gonna pick up probably right at the point because they have to that door ended up not working out because they made the fairy mad that they they kept going in his home to get to that door. So they had to go find a different door. And so that's where it's gonna pick up is they did find the different door and they're gonna go through it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That just reminded me that Wendell's a cat person and she's a dog person.
that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that. And that cat is crazy. And it was so funny, her, like, trying to catch the cat, and the cat
Yeah.
was trying to lead her away from the danger, but she's not a cat person, so she wasn't
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I should
Well,
follow the cat." She's like, "I'm just gonna snatch this damn thing up and, like, take it," so and it just, like, all unfolded from there. That was
well,
so
she
funny.
was definitely doing Emily being Emily. So
That part was so funny to me.
let me steamroll into trouble. So
Yeah, that's and
but
you have
she
your
knows how to
cat shirt on too, so that's so
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
That's so cute. Um I think that's all I can think of really for this series. Is there anything else like that comes to mind for you that you wanted to touch on before we sign
No,
off?
like, when you did your recap, I was like, "Oh, yeah, all of this stuff,"
Yeah,
but I was
me
like, "Okay,
too.
no, we can't. We can save it for the next episode when we talk about the 3rd book." And maybe everyone will be caught up by then and or hopefully you've already read it and we didn't give you a bunch of spoilers, but, otherwise, catch up with us.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause I will be getting the 3rd book and I will be, enjoying it, hopefully, and reading it, and we'll be back to chat again about the books.
yeah, yeah. So definitely read one and two if you haven't, so you could hear us talk about the third. And then we're also going to be talking about the A Discovery of Witches series. So if you haven't read those, get started on those too, so you can
Yeah,
chat with us and be here.
because those ones are pretty. Those ones are heavy too. So,
Hmm.
I mean, those ones are like an emotional investment. So,
Yep.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Yay! Thank you for joining us today, everybody. And we hope you enjoy our podcast, Book Connections, because we clearly are having fun just talking to each other. So we hope it feels a little bit book clubby to everybody else who listens to it.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll post our email below and the links that we eventually set up. And we'll be around and we will be back with another round because this was really fun. And if you and I are the only people who enjoy it, it's worth it. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll even host occasionally like polls for other people to pick like the next read or something. So,
yeah,
yeah, if you
yeah,
do
that
decide
sounds
to
fun.
follow us along, yeah, keep an eye out for that. So,
Yeah. All right. I'm signing off. Thank you guys.